Next, on surviving in the wild. 3 men shipwrecked on the Gulf of Mexico.
A night from hell.
Face a test of courage and endurance.
I didn't think we'd be around very long at that point.
Against cold, exhaustion, and dehydration.
There is no reason to believe that they are dead until I see a body.
They always said the worst day of boating is better than the best day at work, but that day was not better than the worst day at work. It was truly worse than anything I could imagine.
Saturday, March 3rd, 2001, off the Florida coast. Neil Obendorf, Lou Lipsett, and his son Bill set off on a one-day scuba diving excursion.
I was real excited about it. I was excited about it 2 months before we were coming down, just at going out on the dive trip.
This actually was going to be a short thing. Basically, it was out and back. We knew there was a storm coming the next day, so we weren't going to be long.
We got out to the dive site around 11 o'clock, and I spent an hour diving. We had about 3-foot seas, and I asked the guys if they mind if I went back down for another dive.
I actually never got down. I'm used to diving into lakes where it's calm. And when I got into the water, there was like a 3-foot sea. I got a bit nervous of it and got back out of the water.
While Neil finishes one last dive, Lou and Bill make a terrifying discovery.
Well, Bill moved his foot on the floorboard. Well, the whole floorboard popped up, and he was in water up to his ankles.
I said to my father, I said, there's something wrong, like what's going on? And I could tell by a look in his eyes right then it was bad.
And I tried to start the boat to run the water out of it. When it wouldn't start, I realized that we were in big trouble.
I kept saying to my father, what's happening, like what's going on, as he was trying to start the motors. And I can't remember the exact words, but I remember we're going down, like this boat's sinking.
And I kept saying to Bill, don't you move until I yell. And when I yell, jump, and stay clear of this boat because it'll hit us, you know.
I think I was pretty panicked at that point. Like there wasn't much time. The water started rolling over the back, and it was going down quick.
So I dove into the cabin and pulled out, I think it was 3 life vests, a line, and 3 dock bumpers.
He had questioned me where the cell phone was. I just tried calling somebody, and I put the cell phone into the center console.
The rising water floods the console, submerging both the phone and the VHF radio. Lou and Bill must abandon ship without sending a distress signal.
And that boat got down in less than 2 minutes. It was upside down.
When I was coming up the anchor rope, the silhouette of the boat just didn't look right to me. And as I got closer to the boat, I had realized that I was not looking at the bottom of the boat, but actually the top of the boat. It had flipped over.
He was surprised. He said, what in the world happened? And I told him what happened.
Lou was pretty calm, but Bill was just kind of, he didn't know what was expected, what was going on. He had no clue what he was in for.
So I think I must have been driving Dad and Neil nuts, because I was one question after another about whether there were sharks out there. Would the Coast Guard be able to get us at night? How quick would the Coast Guard be about it?
Bill was really upset, and I told him, you got to have a good attitude about this. What's happened has happened. We can't do anything about that. So from here, it's what we do is what's going to count.
Without a Mayday, I figure it was going to be 14, 16 hours in the water.
Neil salvages the last few items from the capsized vessel.
So we just kind of got them all together. And it didn't have rope, but there was rope on the dock bumpers, so we were able to fasten them together.
The men hold onto the rope to keep them from drifting apart and settle in for a long wait.
And the next thing to come to my mind is sharks. And I know they are out there. I just don't know how aggressive they'll be.
Bill's fears are well-founded. These are shark-infested waters. But for Bill, Lou, and Neil, there's a more immediate problem: the cold.
Once we got real cold later on, I was thinking, the cold's going to kill us.
And you had to kick and move all the time. You couldn't quit. If you did, you'd freeze.
My biggest concern was hypothermia, because I knew we were going to be in the water for a long time.
Medical expert Dr. Paul Auerbach explains the effects of long-term immersion in cold water.
Bill, Lou, and Neil are floating in cold water, so they're very susceptible to hypothermia, which is a lowering of the body's core temperature. This is a lot worse in water than in air because you lose heat 100 times as fast in the water. Also, you're exerting yourself, so you're circulating cold blood and you're shunting warm blood to your core to try and preserve your body temperature. As you get cold, your body's mechanisms to compensate and remain warm become overwhelmed, and so eventually blood that flows to your brain becomes cool, and you begin to lose your ability to reason or have good judgment.
I tried to pass off my wetsuit parts to him.
Well, Neil took off his hood from his dive suit, and so I wore it for a while, and then Bill wore it for a while. As soon as you put that on, you'd feel warmer, clean down to your waist, even though you're underwater.
You would imagine that by passing the hood around, each individual would feel warmer at the time he was wearing the hood. In terms of the amount of protection that provided, it was probably minimal in terms of heat conservation, but the sensation of warmth would be enormous compared to not wearing the hood at all.
Lou, Bill, and Neil must now pin their hopes on their wives noticing their absence.
The girls we knew were at Busch Gardens, and they wouldn't be back until probably 9 or 10 o'clock at night.
Lou, Bill, and Neil have now spent 8 hours in the water. Back on shore, Jackie Obendorf and Mary Lipset are beginning to worry about their husbands. They find the truck and trailer, but no sign of the men.
It was a very low feeling. It was a feeling like, how could this be? Because Lou and Neil are experienced boaters. This is not making sense. This is not happening.
I said, Jackie, we need to call search and rescue and get things started now.
Sensing that their husbands are in danger, Jackie, Mary, and Bill's wife Anna are able to persuade the local sheriff's office and Coast Guard to mobilize a search. But efforts to find the men are hindered by darkness and bad weather, including gale force winds.
The longer the wind blows, the bigger the waves are going to get. It just progressively got worse.
A night from hell. Probably the worst night of my life.
We saw a private motor yacht go by. I think it probably passed within about 2 miles of us, and we shot a flare at it.